Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into Rich Dad, Poor Dad, a book that's sold, over 32 million copies, basically by flipping everything we thought we knew about money on its head. So let's get right into it.
So right at the core of this whole thing, you've got this major clash of ideas. One dad, the poor dad, he truly believed that the love of money is the root of all evil. But the other one, the rich dad, he saw it completely differently. For him, it was the lack of money that was the root of all evil. And these two beliefs, they're polar opposites, and they really set the stage for everything else.
You see, the author, Robert Kiyosaki, he kind of grew up with two dads giving him advice. On one hand, you had his actual father, a super smart, highly educated guy who worked hard but, always seemed to be struggling financially. And on the other hand, there was his best friend's dad, a guy with less formal schooling who became this incredibly successful entrepreneur. So you can imagine Kiyosaki is stuck in the middle, getting completely conflicting lessons about money from the two biggest male role models in his life.
And the way he started to figure all this out, well, it all kicked off with a simple childhood misunderstanding. But that misunderstanding led to his first, and maybe his most important, lesson ever.
So someone told him to make money, and he and his friend Mike took it literally. They started going around collecting old lead toothpaste tubes, melting them down over a fire, and then pouring the metal into plaster molds to cast fake nickels. They were literally trying to make money. It's hilarious and, yeah, definitely illegal, but this was the moment that pushed them to finally go ask Rich Dad how it's really done.
So Rich Dad's first lesson, it didn't happen in some classroom with a textbook. Nope. It was a hands-on, real-world job designed to show them a trap that, frankly, most people live their whole lives in without ever even seeing it. After working for Rich Dad for just a few cents an hour, Kiyosaki got fed up and quit in total frustration. And that's when he was finally ready for the lesson. And here it is. This is the big one. The single most important difference between the rich and pretty much everyone else. It's not about working harder. It's about what or who is doing the work.
Rich Dad called it the rat race. And you know what he's talking about, right? It's that endless loop. You get up, you work hard, you get a paycheck, you use that check to pay your bills, you hope you get a raise, and then you just do it all over again, month after month. It's a cycle that's fueled by two really powerful emotions: the fear of not having enough money and the greed or desire for all the nice things money can buy. And here's the crucial point. That salary, no matter how big it gets, just keeps you running on that wheel. It solves your immediate problem, I need cash now, but it does absolutely nothing to build real, sustainable wealth that will take care of you in the long run.
So to really get this lesson, the boys didn't ask for more pay. Instead, they did something brilliant. They started a comic book library in a spare room. They charged kids a small fee to come in and read as many comics as they wanted. The business basically ran itself. It was a tiny little operation, sure, but the lesson was huge. They were learning about passive income. Their money was now working for them, even when they weren't in the room.
And that huge realization about passive income leads us right into the next core principle, which is really the bedrock of all financial intelligence.
It all boils down to two super simple definitions. First up, what's an asset? Forget all the complicated jargon. An asset is simply anything that puts money into your pocket. That's it.
And a liability? Well, it's just the exact opposite. It's anything that takes money out of your pocket. See? Simple. The rich spend their lives buying assets. The poor and middle class, they spend their lives buying liabilities that they think are assets. And that's the whole game right there.
Okay, so let's put this to the test with the big one. The single biggest purchase most of us will ever make. Using those dead simple definitions we just talked about, is your house an asset? Now this is a tough one for a lot of people to hear, but according to Rich Dad's way of thinking, it's a liability. Why? Because every single month it's taking money out of your pocket for the mortgage, for taxes, insurance, repairs, you name it. The wealthy play it differently. They focus on buying income-producing assets first, and then they use the cash flow from those assets to buy their luxuries, like a big, beautiful house. And this brings up another huge secret: how the rich use corporations to their advantage, especially when it comes to taxes. Look, for most employees, the flow is you earn money, the government immediately takes its cut in taxes, and then you get to spend what's left. But a business owner can flip that script. They can earn, then spend that money on legitimate business expenses, and only then pay taxes on whatever is left over. It's a massive, massive structural advantage. So all of this,
The rat race, assets, liabilities, taxes, it's all leading us to the final and honestly, the most powerful concept in the entire book, that real wealth isn't in your bank, it's in your head.
Rich Dad's whole philosophy was that your single greatest wealth-building tool, your ultimate asset, is your financial intelligence. Money itself, he'd say, is just an idea. A mind that's been trained to see how money works can spot opportunities everywhere, opportunities that everybody else is completely blind to. It can literally create wealth from thin air.
So, how do you build up that ultimate asset? Well, you start choosing jobs based on what you're going to learn, not just what you're going to earn. The whole point is to collect skills. Critical skills like sales, marketing, management, because those are the tools that will let you build your own asset column for the rest of your life.
But look, knowing all this stuff is one thing. Actually doing it is another beast entirely, right? Because we all run into these huge mental roadblocks. The fear of losing money, that cynical voice in your head that says, that'll never work, or just plain old laziness that we disguise as being too busy. Getting past what's in your own head is often the real battle.
But here's a really powerful way to push past those roadblocks. Just remember this idea. You might only be one new skill away from completely changing your financial future. When you think about it like that, just learning one new thing, it makes the whole challenge feel so much more achievable, doesn't it?
Look, at the end of the day, the ideas in this book are actually pretty simple. But simple doesn't mean easy. The real question isn't whether these principles work. The real question is whether you'll actually apply them. So, the question this explainer leaves you with is, now what are you going to do to make your money start working for you?